now. It's the Rob from 106.1 KISS FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting.
Hey, what's up? It's Eric Cornish from WKDQ. And look, it's Travis Sams from KISS and WKDQ.
So that's why he's here in the middle.
Yeah. He's on both of our stations here, but he is a big wrestling fan too. He's also given us some ideas for the show. So he's going to be joining us today.
You brought an interesting point to the table. There's one thing we haven't talked about in its entirety, but you're right. We do need to get to something first.
Yeah, before we get to the topic of the day, we've got to say congratulations because we've got a big winner with WWE just about a week away in SmackDown. We've got a grand prize winner. This person will not only get to sit in the front row for the SmackDown tapings. This person will not only get to take home a souvenir chair,
prize pack.
Who knows what other prize pack items. But this person will also get to come by the station when we interview the WWE Tag Team Champions, the New Day, that are going to be right here in the studio. So, congratulations, Michael Virgin.
That's right, Michael Virgin. You've always been a viewer, a listener, and we appreciate it very much. So, I know you're going to have a good time in the front row of the Enhancement Talent section at the Ford Center on May 12th. Getting closer, guys.
Yes, absolutely. So, Travis, you brought up an interesting topic here. You said, have you guys ever covered this? I said, no, I don't think we have. So, what you got?
Well, I was just talking about tag teams, like where they were in the past, where they are now. Your favorites, maybe?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because tag team wrestling, first of all, just in the history of wrestling, it's a main event thing, but it has not been in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so many of the territories were all about having tag teams on top, or even WWE at one point. You know, they had 3 different crews going out. You know, if Hogan's main eventing one town, you might have the B town, and you have the Hart Foundation on top. So. Yeah, it's definitely a lost art, and a tag team match can be structured so much different than a regular match. So,
I feel like the kids today are trained to be singles wrestlers, are trained to think that tag team is back burner. Thoughts? You agree, disagree?
I mean, for the WWE process, I think it kind of is, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if you look at it today, look at most of the tag teams you have today, you've got singles competitors being partnered up. Look at Cesaro and Kid.
Sure.
However, they are an awesome tag team. You don't see too many natural tag teams like the Usos nowadays.
Right.
So
where they're conjoined by a common gimmick or something.
Right.
Yeah, I think if they ever try to break up the Usos, and trust me, they will try, that'd be a big mistake. You know, they don't have enough of their own personality, and they're meant to be a tag team. And I think they enjoy it that way. And really, you were talking about Cesaro and Kid. I think they enjoy being a tag team as well.
Yeah.
So you have to have people that embrace that, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the random pairings have kind of happened for a long time. You know, one of my favorites was Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett.
Sure.
There was no reason for them to be teaming together, but they had a great run. And that was not too long after another one of my favorites, I believe, dawned at WrestleMania 11, Owen Hart and Yokozuna.
Sure,
why are they partners? We don't know, but they are.
They are, and they made a great tag team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some of the teams on scene right now, besides Kid and Cesaro, who I said weeks ago, I think they'll be a babyface team. It looks like they're in the transition to be that, and I think they'll be huge. They remind me of the pairing, like you said, the random pairings, and the one that I'll point out is the New Age Outlaws, 2 guys that really were floundering, didn't have anything to do, and they just kind of slapped them together, and it was magic.
Absolutely.
And some of the other teams right now, okay. Let's talk about the Ascension. Can we talk about them real quick? Because
yeah, sure.
One of the teams that dominated NXT, and right when NXT was really becoming hot, on the network, people were gravitating toward these guys, and they were so excited when they were coming to the main roster. What went wrong?
Face paint.
I think so.
I think them trying to make the comparisons to like LOD and Demolition. I don't know. I think. For some reason, it just wasn't going over with the fans. It wasn't what they were used to, I think.
I think it's hard to point to a reason. I kind of think that got them some attention and some heat. But I feel like, for whatever reason, when they made that transition isn't for everybody. Yeah. There are some guys who can do really, really well on those lower leagues, the NXTs, the independents, and then they come into the big leagues and nothing really happens. Or the writing, their characters are odd. They're not relatable.
Yeah.
They're very 80s. They're not relevant anymore.
I think, they wanted them maybe to be a new LOD or a new Demolition or Powers Pain or whatever, and that was the problem. I mean, people immediately made that comparison, But instead of ignoring it, say, when Ryback came on the scene, everybody compared him to Goldberg. They just ignored that. They ignored it, and went forward with it, and did what they could. In this case, the second week, they were already cutting a promo on the people who were making the comparisons and talking about them, and that's just horrible. Now it makes you look like a ripoff, and I think that's what happened with them. So they still have a chance to kind of redeem themselves, but let's face it, guys like Connor, for example, has been in this system for a long time, over 10 years. He's been in this WWE system, so it's now or never for him.
I feel like, and this is going to sound like a joke, but I'm not joking, like, the better question instead of what went wrong with Ascension is what went right. They weren't having good matches, they weren't connecting with the crowd, they didn't look cool to anybody. Nothing really got off the ground with them.
Yeah.
So,
but then you got the Lucha Dragons on the other hand, and I think they're getting over. They look like they're doing great. The New Day has, with this new attitude, I'm very excited about it, and it looks like positive things for them. What other teams that have not been put together yet could be used? If they were going to use a real, tag team division, are there anybody out there that could be put together and be a solid team? Again, everyone's singles. So I kind of like, the Hart Foundations, the Killer Bees, where they have a similar look and a similar background, and you associate them together. So off the top of my head, I'm having a hard time. Do you have any in mind? Well, are there any teams maybe out there not in the WWE that are working as teams that you could bring in to work in the WWE?
What about those? I was gonna say, what about those goofy the Vaudevillians?
You know what?
Yes, no.
I don't. Something about them.
I understand why they're over in NXT. They will not work in WWE.
I'm not saying they will. I'm just throwing them out there as an idea.
I don't think they'll work in WWE. They'll work as well as Adam Rose or Santino. Well, and I don't like to put Adam Rose in the same class with Santino. For their roles, yes, but Santino's way more over than Adam Rose and way more over than the Vaudevillains will be, I think.
What do you think about, you've got Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy? I mean, I think they're very, very over in NXT.
True.
But do you think they can make that transition?
They might, but Enzo Amore's got way more. I mean, he is that team.
Yeah. Oh, he is, absolutely.
Big Cass, I don't think, has that, he doesn't fit, I don't think, in that team.
No.
But it just works, I guess, because he's like the muscle, and then you got the little guy that does all the talking. Okay, they could work. There was talk of the Briscoe brothers coming in. I think they're past their WWE.
It's been a little while for them, I think.
You've got guys like Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks. They've made it clear they don't really want to be in WWE, but I guarantee if they gave them a contract, they'd be there. Yeah. So I don't know, but one team that I think I could see until events of this past week, the King of the Ring tournament, that I would love to be a dominant team that's a tag team, but also in the main event. Maybe like a Rated RKO used to be.
Okay.
Is a team like Wade Barrett and Sheamus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think that they could be great tag team champions, but still be working with the guy. They're not the type of tag team champions that go into a match with John Cena and they both get beat in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I hate that. But they could go into a match against a couple guys like Reigns and Ryback or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. They seem more feasible as a main event tag team than The Miz and R-Truth did back in 2010 against The Rock and Cena.
True, but they tried. I like where they were going with that, but sure. So I don't know. I don't think tag team wrestling will ever be what it used to be.
No, one thing I wish though is there are some solid tag teams right now. The division isn't floundering, I don't feel like, but I feel like it's a little void of personality and angles. Okay, I know what the New Day is doing, but I feel like there's not a motive or a reason or a target, so to speak. Or same thing with the Usos. Yes, they're brothers. Yes, they're from Samoa. But what are they doing here? Kid and Cesaro.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wish they had a little more when I look back at the golden days of tag team wrestling for me, I know a lot of people point to the 80s and the Hart Foundation and the Rockers and this, that. To me, it was the Attitude Era. It was Edge and Christian. It was the Dudleys. It was the Hardys. It was the super heavyweights.
Cool. And you go on and on.
It didn't stop. And there were so many. There were angles. There were conquistadors, and there was tag team ladder matches, and there were Lita, and there were third people in their teams. There were so many angles that I feel like are just missing from today's. I know New Day is dressing the same, but that's not enough for me.
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
what about, a tag team that the WWE, they pulled the plug on them, I think, too soon, but now they're back together. Mm-hmm. Primetime players.
Yeah, I mean they're going to have to give them a chance to do something. I mean
they had some traction going.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the team. I do think they pulled the plug on it way too soon. I just hope it's not too late for those guys, to kind of do something. So yeah, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. But let's go back to the glory days real quick. Quick top 3 tag teams of all time, guys.
In no particular order, the teams that I mentioned. It's Hardy's, it's Dudley's, it's Edge and Christian, and when you put them together, it was magic.
Very cool.
I'll agree with that. More along the lines of Attitude Era. Hardy's probably. Then you got the New Age Outlaws, and my favorite tag team of all time, albeit they probably weren't the greatest, but the Rock and Sock Connection. One of my favorites.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, definitely had their own little place in history. I'll kind of go through a bunch of different decades because I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. So, New Age Outlaws, I think, just for what they were and how they were put together, I think one of the best tag teams of all time. I would definitely put Billy Gunn into a quick top 2 of best tag team wrestlers of all time.
Really?
That may be another show altogether.
Yeah.
Right up there with another guy I'll mention in one of my favorites, Bobby Eaton. And Bobby Eaton along with Stan Lane in the Midnight Express. That was more of my generation there.
I expected to see the Midnights on your list.
And I'll say Edge and Christian. I really think Edge and Christian was a great team, and both spawned pretty good single superstars. So and not too many teams do that. so there you go. Tag team wrestling in a nutshell. And thank you for that topic, Travis.
Hey,
I appreciate
no problem.
that.
Anytime. That's what I'm here for.
So for myself and of course Travis also and
Eric, yeah. Hey, thank you so much. And coming up this Thursday, we're going to be talking to WWE contracted referee and Evansville native, Wrights High School graduate Dan Engler is going to be right here on the program. Thanks for watching the Enhancement Talent.